This is Real Race Talk from Texas. It's the Revved Up Sports Show. Here's Bobby Chaffee and Rodney Rodriguez.
All right, we are off and rolling. It is your Monday Revved Up Sports Show, doing it again. Down south, Showtime, Bobby Chaffee, Rodney Rodriguez up north. Bobby, how you doing, brother?
You know, not doing too bad. Weather not near as hot today as it normally is, so that's a good thing. Other than that, just another typical Monday around the household, trying to get a couple of loose ends tied up from the weekend. But other than kind of a bad hair day, I guess everything's going about as good as it could.
And another busy race weekend. We'll get you some race results coming up here a little bit later on and talk about all kinds of cool stuff and all of that good stuff. But coming up here in just a bit, we will be talking to Jared Fryer. Quite the finish there in that little Cars Tours race. Those guys got after it there. That was pretty exciting.
Yeah, no, it was a really good finish. If you had a chance to catch that video, you got to catch it sooner rather than later, just because of the fact that was going to be that was a barn burner right down to the very last corner, the very last lap. So I enjoyed watching that. So. Kind of nice to see two guys. We'll get into it with Jared here in a minute, but it's kind of nice to see two guys getting into it and not having any hurt feelings about it. At least what it appeared to be, no hurt feelings about it with the interviews there at the end of the race.
Yeah, really good to see that, and that's it kind of tells you that it's still possible to get out there and race hard, and everybody gets along at the end of it. Yeah, very good point there to see those guys mix it up and do some good racing. And that the Cars Tour, excuse me, I guess I must be excited. Cars Tours, they do not disappoint. I mean, you get really good finishes when it comes to that stuff. And I mean, the night before, pretty good race the night before the race before. Bubba Pollard wins that one, so very good showing there for the Cars Tour.
Yeah, it was a lot of good racing action there at Franklin County Speedway. That looked like a little racy joint, that was for sure.
Yeah, it did.
The way that it looked like it was a pretty good little joint there for a lot of fun and exciting racing. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it really did. So speaking of that, let's talk to the man of the hour, the guy that we've been talking about here. He puts that 14 in victory lane, and you got to love that. It is a man, Jared Fryer. Jared, how you doing, man?
Doing good. How about yourself?
Absolutely, man. We're doing exceptional. Before we get into the racing stuff, COVID treating you all right, man? Everybody good through all of this, whatever?
Yeah, luckily all my people are good. My crew guys, my family, everybody's been good. I know it's kind of bad times, but it actually kind of played in our favor for the racing because we bought that new car and we weren't going to have it ready as soon as I'd liked, and when they kind of postponed all the races, we were able to finish it, so it kind of played into our favor.
I love it, man. See, that's what we've been doing, Bobby and I. We're like trying to find all the positives out of this, so that's a really good one right there. I love that.
All right, well, Jared, thanks for the time. Talk about this racetrack you were just at, this Franklin County Speedway. Rodney and I were just talking about it. It seems like that's a pretty racy little joint. It seemed like there's a lot of good racing. You're able to kind of run side by side, nose to tail, bumping and banging, and everybody seemed to have a pretty good time at that place.
Oh, try it one more time, Bobby. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I mean, muted again?
Yep, sorry.
Yeah, every time. No, Jared, talk about this Franklin County Speedway track that was the you guys were racing at this weekend. Rodney and I were talking about it before we came on air. That looked like a pretty racy little joint. Looks like you guys able to run side by side there for a little bit, front to back, beating and banging. Talk about that racetrack. Where's it located?
It's located about 20, 30 miles kind of north of Martinsville, Virginia. And it was what I expected. I watched a lot of videos from previous races there with the modifieds and stuff. And it looked like it was a tight racetrack, but it looked like it had two grooves there too. And sure enough, it did when we got there. And I was excited about that. It's not some of the racetracks we go to are real line sensitive, single groove racetracks. And so they don't really promote good racing. I mean, they do, but it's hard. Like if your car's not that good, you're kind of stuck. Where there, you kind of had an option. It wasn't real line sensitive. If you want to, you could run the top or you could run the bottom. And as you've seen, Mike's car ran really good around the outside of turn 1 and 2. where I felt like I ran best right around the bottom in the curb. So it made for great racing, and I really enjoyed the racetrack a lot.
Yeah, that looked like a really, really good time out there as you guys were getting after it. So break this thing down. I mean, going back and watching the replay, and of course it's all over the place. That's a good thing about it. But walk us through that, man. A lot of poise right there. A lot of poise to be able to do that without one, you guys crashing each other, and two, and being able to make the move and eventually winning.
Yeah, I mean, we had a really good race car. Kind of surprised myself in qualifying. I mean, it was good. It was better than it was in practice, and hit everything right on that last lap and put up a pretty good time. And that helped a ton, starting on the front row. I think we fell back to fourth at one point, just kind of riding. And then when I wanted to, I could take off and go when I wanted, and that was really good. The only thing, kind of kicked myself because I could have probably let few more laps if I'd have restarted on the bottom when I had to lead that one restart, but I chose the top like a dummy.
I was wondering about that.
Passed,
I was wondering about that.
Yeah. I was on the radio so hard to them guys, I was like, man, I don't know what to do here. Mike beat me. I just beat him on the bottom, but I didn't know if I just got lucky or if he slipped or what the deal was, So I was like, well, I said, I restarted on the bottom about every time leading up to then. So I was like, at worst, I felt like I was going to lose one position. And I said, so I like to try the outside. I might need it later in the race, or I might find something up there. And unfortunately, I didn't. But it's part of it. And yeah. So, anyways, we got going there, and I guess it was about 30, 40 to go. We had a pretty long green run, and I felt like we were about done with the cautions. So I took off, and 22 car was catching me, so I took off and tried to chase down Looney, and I was catching him. It felt like. And then the dang caution come out. So, but then we were able to fire right back off and stay with him. And then same deal, like the longer we ran, it seemed like the better it got. And I guess with about 10 to go, that's when I started getting closer and closer to him. And I knew I was better than him. It's just gonna be so hard to pass. I mean, it was a tight place, and I needed more room than he was giving me and wanted to give me, and I can't blame him for that. But once I got to him, I knew I didn't want to. I was trying not to lean on him or do anything because I know he wouldn't do that to me. And we bumped wheels there one time and kind of shot us both down to the inside. And I didn't really expect it, but when you hit wheel to wheel like that, it's usually what happens. Mm-hmm. And luckily, we were able to save him, and he gave me a good shot off 4, and then again into turn 1. I don't know how I saved that, but he done good. He let me gather it back up. And he didn't wreck me, so that was the biggest thing. And I wasn't going to wreck him. I'm glad we were able to do that. And then, man, honestly, the last lap, like all that, it was so crazy because after the race, I was just so shocked and blown away. I just couldn't believe it. And so just a lot going through. And I was like, man, I don't even know what happened the last lap. It happened so quick, and that's what I was telling you. I was like, I didn't realize I led 2 or 3 to go.
Yeah,
I didn't realize I even had the lead.
Wow.
And it was crazy. And then I knew my only chance was turn 1 to cross him over, though. And he went in there low and kind of washed up and opened up the bottom for me. And when I was door to door with him down the back straightaway, I figured if I could just get through 3 and 4 like I have been, I was going to beat him off. I didn't need to run into him or anything. And
right.
Sure enough, it worked out that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Great move.
So, Jared, you talked about in your victory lane interview on that video that you were kind of speechless. You didn't know what to say or what to think. So now you've had a little bit of chance to really think about it. Have you gone back and watched the videos and now that it's sunk in for a couple of days, what's your take on winning that race?
It was definitely special. I mean, just the amount of people that helped me, everybody's effort put into it. I mean, it wasn't just me. It was everybody at the racetrack, at the shop, and all of them that put time into the car. It means a lot, and showed up and helped. And it was pretty special too to win. I feel like for my pops, it's first win since he passed, so that was super cool. I know he'd definitely be proud. That was big race and big win for me, probably my biggest in the career. So it was definitely special, and I don't know, just a lot of emotion after that race. Driving for Jimmy this year and his first win, in a late model cars tour race. So, a lot of firsts and a lot of big things. So, still trying to soak it in and enjoy it. They don't come easy, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt about it. To win a Cars Tour race like that, I mean, that's a big deal, and I mean, even bigger for you. I mean, you win that, and you take that payday, but big picture, you add to the point lead. I mean, even bigger scenario there for you.
Yeah, and that was another thing. It felt really good to get a win because I was hard on myself that year. We won the championship and didn't win a race. It was frustrating to me. I wanted to win a race,
Sure.
But sometimes it happens like that, and that's what I told Jimmy. I said this year I want both. So we've done one. We just got to keep plugging at it and having good finishes and good runs, and I think everything will take care of itself.
That's right.
So Jared, you've driven all the different kind of late models, if you will. You've driven the super late models, your regular kind of pro late models, and now these late model stocks. Are they any more cost effective than any of the other late models to run, or is it just a late model and they're just super expensive?
It's kind of hard to say. I think at the racetrack expense, they're probably all about the same. I mean, you all got 4 tires you got to buy minimum for a race, practice tires and stuff. Build costs, it's probably cheaper to run the late model stocks, and it makes more sense too around here. Which we've been racing back-to-back weekends, so we ain't really had time to go run local shows or anything. But if we did, we could go run locally any given weekend on a Friday or Saturday, just about. With the late model stock, we're like super late models. They haven't run probably but 3 or 4 races around here this year, so wouldn't be able to race as much. But as far as late model stock, I'm not really, especially this year, which that's a new car I'm in, and that's the first new car I've ever had in my racing career. So it's helped a ton and really been a game changer for me.
Yeah, I bet, absolutely. I mean, we talked to Mark on here. Of course, Freddie, was on here as kind of our landmark interview there. How cool is it for you guys? I mean, because seriously, you guys, and I love those victory lane pictures because it's family and friends, man. You guys get out there and you bust your ass and you work everything off. And for you guys to get out there and break through and win and be leading the points, that has to be even more special.
Yeah, it is. It's super special. I mean, that's what it's about, family and having a good time. We got a small little operation there, and people volunteer to go to the racetrack with us because they want to and they like it and they enjoy it. So anytime you can win and run good, and everybody's happy, so it makes for a good night. Yeah, makes for a lot of fun.
No doubt.
So Jared, talk about the relationship. It seemed like that Looney was one of the local guys that run up there all the time. Talk about the relationship between the local guys that run the late model stocks at a track normally and when they come to race the tour guys. Is it always as cordial as it seemed with you and Looney, or is that kind of an anomaly one that the local guys come out and try to put on the show for the hometown fans?
That was probably one of the, I'd say, most competitive the locals been lately. Looney ran really well, and so did Kyle Dudley. But yeah, it was neat to run there. He had a bunch of fans and all. It's good to run with the locals because they got home track advantage and obviously a lot more laps than we do. So to be able to compete with them is definitely pretty cool and special. And especially a guy like Mike, man, he's class act, and I have nothing but respect for him. And he's won a lot of big races, and done a lot of big things too in late model racing.
Absolutely, yeah, he sure has. Jared Fryer with us on the Revved Up Sports Show hotline. Jared, so he mentioned there, I was reading some of the after the race thing, and he said that when he was behind you, he could tell that you were having to work that car. Were you struggling a little bit there, or is that just the track itself? I mean, like Bobby said, that track looked like a bear.
It must have been the track and just the line I was running and how I was driving it, I guess.
Yeah.
He could really attack the corners hard where I didn't and I couldn't, but I could get off the corner a lot better, I felt like, than him. So I think there's just a difference in the line because, I mean, obviously we had a really good race car. We were the only ones that could compete with him, so it wasn't too bad.
Right.
So I think and that's what I told him. It was neat. I was able to run the bottom. He could run the top. He'd drive it in harder, but I could get off the corner better. Just, I guess it was just the differences maybe in the way it looked.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jared, what's on tap for the remaining portion of the Cars Tour? How many races do you guys have left? Have they kind of revamped the COVID schedule like everybody else?
Yeah, they have, and there's still a lot up in the air of what tracks we're going to. Our biggest race, unfortunately, this year, not a car tour race, but NASCAR race got canceled.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a bummer. But as far as car tour races, I think we got 3 or 4 races left. And I think one or two of them's up in the air still. So we're going to Langley this weekend, and we have a weekend off. And I think we're supposed to be back at it for 2 weeks in a row, I think.
Yeah.
It's been pretty busy, so keeping up with it's been tough. We've been just trying to take it one race at a time and just trying to keep our car in one piece.
They really have done a great job. And, I mean, we sing the praises of the Cars Tour a lot on this show, but they've done a really, really good job. So you guys, when you get to the racetrack, so what all happens with you guys? Are you having to mask up and stay away from everybody? And I mean, what all behind the scenes is happening there?
Some areas they make us have masks, and they try to keep a social distance from everybody. We don't have drivers meetings no more. They do it all through the PA, and the car store's been doing a great job with it and being able to get us back on the racetrack racing, because there's a lot of people not racing.
Right.
And so we're very lucky to be doing that. And all the tracks that's working with them to allow us to race too is huge. And a lot of thanks to those tracks and the promoters and everybody. But yeah, they got a good deal going. It's been really fun. A lot of good competition in that series, and I feel like it's ran really good. And they do a good job at the videos and all that, because I got a lot of friends all over it, watch it live, whether it's in North Carolina or Texas,
Right.
So they get to keep up with it and stuff. And a lot of places don't do that. So that's super cool. And even for me, I really enjoy watching the highlights after the race, because I tell people all the time, it's a lot different when you're in the car and then you get out and watch it. You're like, either it went by faster or it went by slower. Sometimes it's different like that. And that's why I was so ready to see the finish there.
Yeah.
And see if it felt like it looked,
Yeah, no doubt about it.
So, Jared, I got one last question for you. I've had a couple of people ask me about the little logo on top of the number 4 that you had on your car. I haven't got to see a real clear picture of it. What's the little logo you got on top of the number 4 on your car there?
So that's my grandfather's initials, FF. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. I can't remember what I saw it on first, but he had it on all his tools and anything that was about his. He had the FF on there, and when he turns them right, it looks like cross flags.
Yeah.
And I thought that was the coolest thing ever. So, when he passed, I thought I wanted to put something on the car to kind of, show support to him and everything. And it was kind of funny because during our rain delay in practice this weekend, one of the guys in Mike Looney's crew come over, and he asked about it. He asked if I had any there, and I had a few left in the toolbox, and I gave him one, and he actually went over there and put it on the car before qualifying. It was pretty neat.
That's awesome. I'm going to message you that as well. I'd like one of those. That'd be badass.
Yeah, I need to get a couple more made, and because I had several people ask. It's cool because Alvin Shelton actually was up here, I guess, when I first put him on the car, and we were debating where to put it. I wanted to put in a number somewhere, and Alvin said 4 was one of his favorite numbers, so that's the reason why it's in the 4.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that.
I bet you could sell those. I'm like, Rodney, I'd like to get a couple of those put on the toolboxes and the beer fridge in the garage. That'd be pretty kick ass.
Yeah, and up here on this wall behind us, that'd be really cool. Jared, let me ask you, because you know how it goes when it comes to the Friars in Texas, and when I posted yesterday about you being on here, people start telling me things. So somebody whispered in my ear late last night. Tell me something about a dirt car.
I had a lot of interest in it. My pops had a car for me. He wanted me to run and build, but I just ain't had time to do it. I wanted to do it and race out there in Texas in that Sport Mod series, because that seemed like a good deal. a lot of cars and stuff and get a little dirt experience, but I just ain't had time with it and haven't got it back to North Carolina to work on it yet. So been too busy, but I'd like to get on dirt. I'd really like to get back out there to Houston and race too.
Oh man. Yeah. Man, if you had a truck or a modified, that would. Anyway, stick around. Listen in, Jared. We're going to talk about a modified deal coming up here in just a minute. But so also one of the things that we wanted to talk to Mark about, and we forgot to ask. So is it true? And again, if you don't want to say that, that's totally cool. But did he wind up with Pop's Nova? The number 14 Nova, did that wind up back with you guys?
Yeah, we actually brought it back here to North Carolina and just moved it into a friend of our shop to hopefully start working on it. Like I said, we've been busy. I mean, just slammed with racing back-to-back weekends, so we didn't really had a whole lot of time to do much. But yeah, our goal is to get that thing restored and take it down to Snowball Derby and kind of set it out there in front, kind of like Baloo had his car last year, and maybe make some T-shirts and stuff and sell, because I feel like it'd be a big hit, and it's such a cool car. So I'd like to get it back together. I think it'd be pretty special. We've talked about it for a long time doing it, and got a lot of people that's going to help us with it. So looking forward to it. Yeah,
that would be so great. That would be so great. Make me feel young again to see that car. Lastly, any super late model stuff the rest of the year possibly?
No, we pretty much put that on park and actually trying to sell the car. And I told my dad, the biggest thing I want to do is just focus on late model stock. Everything's been going so good lately since we got that new car, and obviously trying to focus on win and now championships. So my focus is all on that. We got like I said 3-4 races left here, and we'll get through those, and maybe we'll see about running something else. But as for now, right now, focus is on late model stock and hopefully try to get another car store championship.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'll tell you what, after that thriller that we saw there at Franklin County, man, back it up. Let's go get the one at Langley and take that championship, man. That'll be cool.
That's right. Yeah, it was fun. It was super cool and super special to race with Mike. One of the best. It was kind of funny because he actually reached out to me and called me Sunday, and we laughed about it and talked about it some more. And he really said a lot of good things about me, and I felt the same way towards him, even before the race. So it was cool to be able to race with such a class act guy and obviously a great driver, because he's kind of in the same situation I am. I even talked his car on after the race. I was like, told him, I said, man, I wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for guys like you and Jimmy, older guys that love racing and love being in it and love winning, that's what it's about. And put us in good equipment, like Mike said. So super special to be able to do that. And, we're both very lucky and fortunate to have good people like that behind us and wanting us to drive for them.
Yeah. Hey, man, the Facebook feed's going crazy. Everybody wants one of those stickers now. So great job, Bobby.
Yeah. Well, if they're the right size, you can charge $14 a piece for them. See, there you go. Now, see, that's how the marketing aspect of that deal works. Yeah.
And of course, Jared, all these crazy Texans here. I'm assuming they're talking about you. You getting married? Are you taking the plunge?
Yeah. I get married in November. This was the first year I've really haven't worked full time on my race car. I had to step up and get a real job and moved away from the race shop. So I don't get to work on the race car near as much as I'd like to, but still be able to make it happen, and still get to work on it quite a bit, but not as much. And so get married in November if everything goes right and we can have it. So looking forward to that too. Be a good icing on the cake for 2020.
Yeah, no, and all these crazy ass Texans are wanting to have a bachelor party. So you probably know who the people are that are asking about bachelor parties and all that. So be prepared.
After race season, tell them planning, I'll be
there. Exactly. Yeah, no doubt about it. Super impressive, man. I know it had been a little bit there for you for winning one. I mean, you were the mark of consistency. So how do you feel about that? Quickly, let me ask you one more thing. So damn consistent, but man, you sprinkle in a win every now and then, and man, that really kind of juices it all up, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. I'm telling you, I feel like the consistency comes from my dad, though. He really keeps me in track on, adjusting on the race car and doing, keeping basically on track with what we do to the race car and not screwing it up, because I've screwed it up before and almost cost me a dang championship. So, I believe in him a lot, and he works on that thing so much and does a lot for me. So, I listen to him, and he kind of guides me and keeps everything in track and does a really good job of working on car maintenance. And knock on wood, we ain't had no problems. But, just like I said, having good people behind you, it takes team effort to run that good, and especially at that level of competition in caliper cars that we run against is definitely not easy. So having a good race car and a good crew, man, that's what it's about, and what's able to allow us to have consistent finishes like that.
Yeah, I just love how you say that, man. It really is. That really is the key. And a lot of guys, they worry about me. Look at me, winning races and stuff. But that really is the key. You have to have a great team like that. So we'll definitely, Bobby and I will put the word out that there's a driver for hire for these Houston races that are coming up, and maybe we'll get you back down here.
Yeah, I'd like to. Got a lot of friends down there, and a lot of people that helped me race even back when I ran Kyle down there. So I'd like to see. Honestly, Houston was one of my favorite racetracks. I really enjoyed that one race that we got to run there. It was another really good multi-groove racetrack when I ran, at least, and had a lot of fun. So I'd like to get back there.
Yeah, we'd love to have you, man. We would love to have a Fryer on the track. I think that would be super cool. Well, Jared, congratulations, man. It was good to see that, and especially in the fashion that you did it, man. That was a thriller. A great race win, and just congratulations, dude. Keep it up.
Thank you, man. I'm ready to go to Langley and get my elbows up again.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Do it again, and hell, we'll do this again on Monday, and maybe it'll just keep rolling.
That'd be great. It's always a good thing when people call me to get on a podcast to talk about it, especially after a finish like that. That was super cool. I'm telling you, I still can't believe it. I go back and watch that replay over and over. When it pops on my Facebook, I click and sit there and watch it. It's so cool, and it's hard to believe. A lot of people said, you don't see that often.
Yeah. I mean, that's a nice thing. I mean, that one is hard to not see, because all day today, everywhere I looked, the damn thing kept popping up, and I'm like, there it is again. I almost have your whole sequence down with everything that you did there. That's when you win them like that, man, they're going to keep popping up. Yeah,
that was good, because it was definitely hard earned. It wasn't like a boring race. You go out there and dominate, and nobody touches you. We, like Mike said, we changed the lead 3 times in 2 laps, I think, once. So it was cool.
Yeah. Really, really good stuff. Jared, congratulations, man. Keep doing this proud. Love seeing that 14, especially with that sticker on there. Love it in Victory Lane, man. And, we're always cheering from down here, man.
Thank you, man. And I just want to give a big shout out to everybody that helps us. Obviously Jimmy Moore, Solid Rock Carriers, Asphalt Services, Stone Building Group, RNS Race Cars, Rayvon Clark, and all the guys go to the racetrack with us and help us do this.
Yes, sir. That is what it's all about. All right, my man. We will stay in touch, and hopefully we'll do this again soon.
Yes, sir. Sounds good.
All right, man. Take care.
Thank you, Rodney. See you.
You got it. There he is, Jared Fryer. And 14 back in Victory Lane. It had been since 2017. I think, since he had won and won. But, man, what a way to do it. That's how you do it right there.
Well, I like the fact that Looney and him were both cordial to each other, right?
Yeah,
it sounded like that
absolutely.
At the end of the race interviews. But the fact that Mike reached out to him the next day and called him and was talking to him about the race, that's gotta make you feel better. It seemed like there wasn't any hard feelings for a little bit of the beating and banging and the side by side wheel banging. So
yeah,
that's really a good thing to see, especially in today's world. There's the fenders are so fragile, and so are the feelings here lately. So it's nice to see 2 guys being respectful to each other. It's like we talked about it before. It's one thing to hit a guy square, right? It's another thing to pop a guy in either the left rear or the right rear. If you're going to hit somebody square, which is what they did a couple of times. on that video, so it's great. But all I know is that I think we created a new market for those Freddie Fryer stickers. That's for sure.
Yeah, man. It a lot of folks are going to be looking for those. So and they are super cool. I mean, that is a very good looking sticker. I had a couple of folks that were tagging me on Facebook about those. I think I'd seen them somewhere on the car before, but man, I really like that. That's really cool, and it has to be so exciting for Mark. I mean, for all of them. I mean, all of them. You know, he talks about, and you just still hear when he talks about Pops, when he talks about Freddie, just the admiration there for truly one of the greatest. I mean, that we've ever watched, and to get back to victory lane for them, it man, that has to be so exciting.
No, it's got to be really cool, especially with the stickers on the car. But just keeping it up, man. Like that's the main thing. You know, like you said, he had a video, or wanted to have a win to go along with the championships, and now he's got a chance to do both. He's got his win, now he's working on his championship. So best of luck to Jared and the gang over there in the Carolinas and Virginia in the Cars Tour.
Yep, absolutely. We will keep up with that. They're back on track, like he said, this week at Langley. I know they've got some races there in North Carolina that are scheduled, you know, a little further out in the coming weeks, and of course, everything up in the air. You just never know how things are going to change, as you know, we keep battling through all of this COVID stuff that's going on. But so quickly, the weekend, Bobby, we saw a really good night out at Cotton Bowl. Have to applaud those people for getting that in, because you and I were kind of joking, some texting back and forth. You wake up Saturday to a turd floater that came out of nowhere. Those people did a good job getting that track together, but boy, that was a ruddy mess at the end of the night. I don't know if anybody's caught any of that video, but it was tough out there. But hell, they pulled it off. I think the thing about it, Bobby, in the past, that wouldn't have happened. That'd have been an early cancel, but they pulled it off.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good to see that they got the race in. Everybody's trying to get as many races in as they can. It doesn't matter the track or the surface. It's just, you know, Cotton Bowl's no different than Houston, trying to get as many races as they can towards the championship. But I don't know. It was good to see. Good to see it. Good to see the races roll off. It looks like there was some good competitive racing there. I think there was 31 factory stocks there on that. So that was looked like a decent car count, at least from the text messages that I received. So that's good.
Yeah, very, very good night out there. Rowdy Chenard wins again in the compacts, and Will Arnold again in the street stocks. I mean, that dude is just so good. Will Arnold, he is onto something. If anybody wants a really, really good outlaw street stock, he told the crowd that car's going to be for sale at the end of the year, so that's a good one. Tim Homeyer in the factory stocks wins, and like you said, 31, 26 started. In the ice stocks, old AJ Dancer, man, that Leaf Spring Nova, he got out there and that home built car wins. Sport Mods, Rusty Head. I mean, when Rusty Head wins, that's a good thing. That I don't think people realize how long Rusty Head has been around. Not only does he have a great racing name, that dude's been around forever.
Been around since the early 1990s. That's for sure. Because he used to race one of those.
Yeah.
I used to race one of those Nauman cars back in the day. One of the old Nico trucks. Finished second in the championship, I think, the first year that he ran over there with them. First or second year, anyway.
Yeah, and then in the big mods, it was Hardy Henderson. So it was a night of the veterans between AJ and Rusty Head and Hardy Henderson. You had some of the old dudes kicking the young folks' asses. So that was a very good thing. And did you see? And so now I'm confused. We'll have to ask. But Jared Maupin won in the limited modifieds, or limited modified sport mod, whatever the hell, in the limited modifieds over at South Texas. He was in the BD2 though. He's still in the BD2.
I guess that's good news, right? I guess maybe whatever the reason was he was out is no longer the reason that he's out. So
yeah,
that's good. Maybe his jaw dropping interview with us changed the course of that the course of that relationship.
Well, and that's and Jason Batt, you know, Jason Batt comes off of talking to us on last week's program, which was a great interview. RevvedUpSportsShow.com. It's there. He wins at Heart of Texas on Friday night, so I'm thinking, okay, he's got that good mojo going coming off of Revved Up. And then Saturday night, he's working his way through the pack, and he gets tangled up in a 3-car melee on the backstretch. And then I'm thinking he's probably regretting being on this program. But, yeah, Jason Batt, man, that IMCA stuff, man, it's really, I will be real transparent with all of you and with Bobby. I never really understood all of that. That really is the way to go, I think.
Well, I mean, I think there's different scenarios. I mean, USRA is starting to get the stranglehold down here, but at least with the IMCA stuff, you can race anywhere north of here. Kennedale's still running the IMCA sanctions as far as what I can remember, and then you move up into Oklahoma and stuff like that. So obviously, and it's king up in the Midwest. But whatever the racers decide on what they want to do, they've just got to figure out the one that works best for them, right? Some people are really going to think that the USRA sanction is better because they don't plan to travel out of the state a whole lot,
right?
And in every place that they decide to run is going to run the USRA cars. And it's not like it's that big of a difference from what we've been told. It's maybe mainly just a spoiler. Height is pretty much the only difference between the two cars. So as far as the limited modifieds versus the sport modifieds, but the sport mods. So I don't know. I think it just comes down to what your personal preference is if you want to race it. Plus, if the track is closer to your house,
hell yeah.
If Coppola's the closest place to your house, then chances are you're probably going to have an IMCA license and sanction just because, well, that's the closest track to you.
Yeah, and I love what the acrobat said on the show last week, where he's like, you pick two tracks. I mean, you pick two tracks, and that's really how you're going to figure out how to to chase a championship. Win 2-track championships, get out there and keep doing that. And he does a really, really good job of that because he's pretty much top dog at both of those racetracks, no doubt about it. Did you see I think South Texas? I think on the South Texas Speedway page, they had you want to talk about one hell of a finish, Memphis Villarreal, or Villarreal, as we say it, and Triton Temple, who's been on this show. Did you see that one? That was by like this much. I mean, it was photo finish, a true photo finish.
I have not seen that one. I guess I got to go back in and look for that one on their page. But
oh man,
2 young kids trying to get all they can with the stuff they got. So that's good. Triton's definitely. He's come a long way since he got interviewed by us. So that's good.
I tell you, I mean, he was on a roll, and then he comes on this program, and just everything. I mean, everything really blows up. So, to all you young aspiring drivers, if you want to do big things, maybe you ought to jump on the old Revved Up Sports Show, because that is how it happens. Quickly over to pavement. Still, I know that details are still being worked out on September 12th. Of course, we talked about it here on the show last week. $10,000 to win there for that race coming up on September 12th. Still trying to figure out lap count, especially the whole format of it, because obviously you would think that you'd want to run more laps, but I mean there's fuel, there's all this other stuff to figure out. So all of that will come really, really quick. I mean, but still comes to the bottom line is $10,000 to win in the Texas trucks there, courtesy of Advance Auto Parts, and that's kind of made some a ripple effect around the country. That's a big deal, and people are talking about that.
Yeah, it's all over the Southeast as people try to determine if they're going to run that championship night in Pensacola or come to Houston and run for the big money. So it'll be interesting to see. Be interested to see when roll call comes up for that drivers meeting. It'll be interesting to see who's all in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it certainly will. So look for details of that. I mean, that'll be coming a little bit later on in the week. Hopefully that'll be all solidified. I would think that hopefully by September, or by the start of September is when you kind of want to have that all in line. That way everybody knows what's going on. But speaking of the Texas Short Track Racing Series, boom, like clockwork. So we were talking earlier about another announcement, and I mentioned this to Bobby right before we started. But coming up on September 26th, you will have that is the second to the last race out there for the Texas Short Track Racing Series. That will be the Gary Merrill Memorial Race 2020. We lost Gary. Man, Gary, another one of those guys, Bobby. He did a lot for racing, while he was still here with us.
Yeah, no, I mean, definitely one of the good guys of the sport. It's nice to be remembered well. Anytime you have a memorial race named after you, that's why it's definitely one of those races that where that you did something special when they start naming the races after you.
Yeah. So that will be that Saturday, September the 26th, and this is all Advance Auto Parts, RNM Install, BMF Shocks and Chassis, Walker Sport Fishing. So we name those things off, and kind of gives you an idea of what this is going to be all about. So you'll have your trucks, you'll have your modifieds, the Outlaws, the Legacies, and the Eco Stocks. Pretty much a regular program there, but the purse for this has been extremely enhanced once again. So coming up on the 26th, those NASCAR modifieds will race for $7,000 to win. The Outlaws will race for $3,000 to win. The trucks will race for $2,000 to win. There's going to be a $500 long haul award, the old tow award. So that'll be in effect as well. And you will have $200 to each fast qualifier in each class. So all of that is in place. That's going to be a 75-lap modified race for that big money. Caution laps will count the first 50. And, of course, single car qualifying, 26 cars. 26 cars is what will start that. And I think that's pretty much going to be the thought for the truck race as well. But, man, money keeps coming. Who said asphalt racing's dead around here?
Definitely not on this show, that's for sure. We talked about everybody trying to come in. That's going to be a big show there for the modifieds. So nice to see the money getting spread around between the different classes. So that's good. Good update. I'm going to have to check my schedule, see how many races I'll be able to make it out there for the rest of the season. So I guess a lot of it depends on how many football games actually end up coinciding with it. But that's good to see that the big money and the big races are still there, at the Palace of Power there with the Texas Short Track Racing Series.
And I do know that the Holiday Inn is working. Obviously, you've got the discounted, rooms and all that in place. So all of that will happen. But again, stay tuned probably to the Texas Short Track Racing Series Facebook page for more information about this one. But and Gina messaged me today as well when she sent me this and said that for the 12th race and for the 26th, there's going to be, how Eddie Gossage does the guns and whatever. There's special trophies for all this. So it's really some nice branding stuff that's coming together here and really, really cool to see some other folks. We're talking about all the other sponsors here. Of course, Advance is kind of the driving force behind all of this, but Walker Sport Fishing, BMF Shocks and Chassis, and R&M Install. I mean, it's good to see this happening, and it really is laying a nice footprint coming up here for the foreseeable future for pavement racing here in Texas.
Yeah, no, I mean it's just a really good thing. It's great to see that all the hard work is paid off. Gina and the bunch over there have done the best they can, putting together the best schedule they could under the circumstances. So it's nice to see towards the end of the year all the hard work paying off.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, we'll talk about that towards the end of the program, just in case we get folks that may jump on the Facebook feed and check it out later, or the live YouTube feed, whatever it may be. We'll throw that back out here in just a little bit. But big weekend, Bobby. Indianapolis 500 in August. So we had great coverage of that. Your thoughts of that race? The greatest spectacle in racing. Man, it's still fun. It's still fun.
Yes, the funny part is that even though the race was in August, nobody worried about that when it came down to winning the Daytona 500, the Indianapolis 500. The thing that the ending still surprised me the most. I really thought they were going to red flag that race. But I saw a meme today that said the ending of the Indianapolis 500 is so 2020. So
yeah, that makes total sense. I kind of thought that they would as well. That they would as well. But I mean, their thing is, you said it. I think on the Saturday show where, I mean, it's 200 laps. I mean, it's ended under caution before, but I did think that would happen. But I'll tell you what I thought was funny, where I saw a lot of folks that were commenting on social media about the end of that race, and they were saying, well, why not do like NASCAR does? And a lot of which obviously they don't. I mean, they've done it this way for 104 years, 103 years. But a lot of the folks that were saying, why don't we do like NASCAR, are the folks that think that the NASCAR way is stupid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I noticed that too, that if you go back and look at some of those posts where they're talking about do it like NASCAR, those might be the same people that have always constantly complained about the different changes that NASCAR has made. NASCAR's changed their green, white checker policy before, their overtime policy. So, but you kind of know, I mean, I really thought they were going to red flag it, but that pit entrance thing, that was tore up pretty good. That would have been at bare minimum an hour to fix, if not. I mean, it may have looked worse when they got down there to it, and maybe why they just decided to end it under yellow with the last 4 laps. So,
yeah,
I don't know. I thought Dixon had a chance at winning. That was the guy that I had picked. He led the most laps, but I mean, I don't think a lot of people had Takuma Sato circled on their starting grid to say, hey, this guy's going to be the winner.
You know, the funny thing about him is obviously this is his second 500 win. But if you really go back and look at his history there at IMS, this dude could have won 4 of these by now. I mean, because he's good. He's consistent and he's fast. And I was waiting for Dixon to run him down. Of course, if we would have had that red flag and maybe a restart, maybe Dixon would have run him down. But this dude, he's damn good. He's damn good. Takuma Sato's the real deal.
I was actually kind of surprised. I didn't know that Courtney Forrest ended up being pregnant. I didn't know that her and Graham Rahal were about to have a baby. That one's been kind of hush hush.
I was going to say, did Taku do that?
I don't know.
No,
I don't know.
He really won. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
But that was kind of a surprise to me. I had to go back in and actually rewind that on the DVR to make sure I heard it right when they're talking about the baby almost being there. I was like, what?
Yeah. Hey, and checking in here, Clint Fryer does check in. Jared Fryer's last win before Saturday in the pro late models at CTS, as a matter of fact, 2016. Remember that one well in the late model stock. 2017 that I was talking about, that inaugural race at Dominion, I think it was, and in the super late model, 2019 at Caraway Speedway. So in the super, it was more recent, but just dramatic fashion to win that. Super cool. But Bobby, in that race yesterday, we saw some savage wrecks, and thankfully, Spencer Piggott. I know he had to go to the hospital there at the end of the thing. He had to go to there in Indiana at Indianapolis. I can't remember. No, Halifax is Daytona. I can't remember what the Indian.
Methodist Hospital.
Methodist, yeah. It's scary that you remember the hospital names of these big races because people have gotten carted off there. But thankfully, he gets released and everything's good there. But man, we saw some wicked wrecks yesterday.
Yeah, that one with him was pretty wicked, but there's a couple other ones that were pretty bad. I think his is just the most noticeable one because it was right there. That the shot they had at the end of that pit road incident. That props to the camera operator who put that, or the camera installer who put that one there, because if they didn't have that one up, that camera took a solid shot there, and was still able to keep on transmitting and different stuff like that. So that was actually pretty cool to see that. So
yeah,
that nice.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Oliver Askew one was the one, and of course, me and my old self, I immediately go back to the way that car veers. I mean, you had the incident there with who was it? I guess Connor Daly. Connor Daly had the spin where he just, I think he just kind of put the car where it shouldn't have been, kind of got down on the concrete part, and the spin with Askew, and he hits that inside wall, and I had eerie memories of the 1973 the Sweet Savage wreck that it killed Sweet Savage, but the way that car just bolted and took off and hit that retaining wall, it was scary. But then again, you see, if you go back and watch that, look at that safer barrier. Watch what that safer barrier does. Man, what an innovation.
No, it's a great innovation. I think the one that surprised me was James Davidson and that brake failure with that right front just totally on fire with the magnesium wheels melting down. But there was some pretty bad wreck. The Connor Daly one was pretty bad. But that one at the end there with Spencer Piggott, that was definitely probably one of the more intense wrecks that we saw that the entire weekend.
Yeah,
didn't get to see a lot of stuff. No big wrecks to be accounted for there at Dover. So
yeah, absolutely. But Indy did produce some good ones, and one of the things that I tweeted out yesterday, and I saw a couple of folks that I was met with a little disdain, but yet there were a couple of people that were like, "Man, you're totally right." I mean, compare these guys in these Indy cars and just some of the footage that we saw with the guys behind the wheel yesterday. Compare that when people question the athleticism of a race car driver. Compare what these guys were dealing with yesterday. And I mean, that's just, I'm talking G-forces. I'm talking about everything that's happening in the car with that damn aero screen that's in there now that has dramatically changed driving conditions for these guys. Compare that, to taking a hard hit in football, getting hit by a baseball. I mean, whatever it may be. I mean, seriously, how do you question the validity of these guys being athletes when you watch what we saw yesterday?
No, I mean, I don't know how it always.
I don't mean you.
All the time.
I don't mean you, but I mean people.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't understand how it gets questioned at all. I mean, that's because you see these guys taking these massive shots, and it's ended up being just one of those. I don't know, like it's just these guys come through and take these massive hits, and then the crew guys too as well. These crew guys are just as good as any of the other, professional athletes. Most of them used to be some type of professional athlete as it is. So.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that we have to really take out of Indianapolis is you tweeted or you messaged me this yesterday, and it is 100% true. But just anything that Roger Penske is going to put his hands on, I mean, he has that Midas touch, and with the odds that he's been dealt, I mean, this whole entire season. to pull that off, because I mean they could have easily postponed that, and I'm sure at some point they thought that they should, but to pull that off, what Penske has done, it's tremendous that he was able to save the Indianapolis 500 in this 2020.
Yeah, no, it's crazy to think he was able to save it, and just the way that they did it. Everything he touched was class, as we talked about. Even if it's just something as simple as a command to start a race, that was just, I mean, it was just classy the way that he thanked the Home and George family and everybody else. So it's nice to see that that the Speedway's in good hands, and I think there's just only more stuff that he'll be able to do when he has the another 8 months under his belt before they get back down there in May of 2021. So it looks like everybody's still pointing to 2021, so that's good. Hopefully everything starts clearing up by the end of the year, and it'll be better, for the better for everybody there in 2021 when all this stuff starts opening back up.
Yeah, that's really what I'm thinking, is that hopefully at that point it's going to be back to normal, to where we hopefully that you do get people back in there, and you have to hand it to the great folks of Indianapolis. They still found a way to make this the Indy 500, even though they were unfortunately shut out of the thing. But I think they did. You see the spirit of Indiana, the spirit of Indianapolis Motor Speedway, when you see all of those folks that are camped out across the street there on 16th Street or whatever it is. Yeah, 16th Street. You see them out there. They're just hanging out. And I really think that maybe this is what racing has done so much, being able to make their way back. And it was really cool with Jamie Little was on the Saturday. On the Saturday podcast, the conversation with her, where she said that she had to relearn her job. She had to relearn how to do what she's done for so long. And I really think that's something else, Bobby, that NASCAR and IndyCar and short track racing is doing, is they're teaching the football people how to enjoy your sport. I really have a sneaking idea in my mind that when you get to college football and you get to the NFL, that you're going to see this, that these parties, these socially distanced parties, are going to be happening outside the venue because you can't get inside. And this is what racing has taught people.
Well, yeah, you hadn't got to see it everywhere, but there's been some guys and gals that are sitting there gathered by a parking lot trying to enjoy the race. We saw a lot of that yesterday for the Indianapolis 500, and so the way that the people were outside partying, I love to see, even if it's just something simple as the back of an SUV with the tailgate raised up and they were listening to it on the radio. That just seemed like they were trying to have a good time, the best that they could, just in the way that it was able to be handled. I mean, nobody wanted to see the Indianapolis 500 run in August.
Right.
I know you didn't. I didn't. I don't think a lot of people did. It was done more so they could get the fans. The last thing the Speedway wanted was to run a race without fans. That was weird during the opening ceremonies, though, when there was no. Once the racing got started, it was kind of like it was with the Brickyard 400, that it was able to. Once the cars got on track, you couldn't tell that much of a difference. But I'm telling you, man, during those driver introductions, when there was absolutely nothing but crickets, that was good. I did like to see the drivers that were paying attention to the actual. That were paying attention to the camera to work towards the people at home. That was good to see. A couple of them kind of waving around like that. But I think the biggest shock of all was the non-factor that Marco Andretti ended up being.
Man, that was surprising, but I kind of saw the foreshadow of that coming, because on Carb Day they were not good. I mean, they were not good, and that simply comes down to, that they trim them up and on Friday for Carb Day, and you get into race trim, and they were, lightning fast. He's laying down all these, almost 234 mile an hour laps, in qualifying trim. But man, you got to be able to run. You got to be able to run in traffic, and it's so weird with Indy cars, because the air and the wind and everything is such a factor. And now with the aero screen that we were talking about, the added weight and the height of that, and how that changes the aerodynamics there, it man, he really was, man. He was shut out. He went straight bass backwards when that was done.
He really did. I mean, I don't think he led lap one. I think Dixon ended up leading lap number one from the outside. So that was more of a surprise to me than anything else. But I don't know. I mean, that's the problem. That the curse was still there. I don't know if it was more of a curse or they just didn't have the speed and the trim like you said they did. But I don't know. It was kind of a surprise to me to not see him be more of at least a factor in the beginning of the race. Anyway.
Yeah, I wish he would have led the first lap. Because you had Michael and Mario and Michael out in the 2-seater. It'd have been cool to lead that first lap, but still, they'll be back. They'll try it again. Big win there for Ray Hall Letterman as they're able to pick up the 104th Indianapolis 500. Now, one last thought on that 500 is Alexander Rossi setting himself up a nice little Indianapolis curse also? That dude can't win for losing there at the Brickyard.
Yeah, other than having that gas mileage win he had a couple of years ago, it's almost like he's setting himself up for a NASCAR run, really. He's going to get tired of the politics over in IndyCar and try to get himself a NASCAR ride. So that would be interesting to think. Though that's one guy that they don't want to lose over in the IndyCar series, definitely, because he's one of the polarizing figures, one of the most popular guys they have over there. So I don't think that anybody really wants to see him leave. But at the same time, if he feels like the series is against him and not having the stuff line up like it should, I thought it was a questionable call with the bad release, but that's also just the way those open wheel stuff is actually regulated and done, is that those rules are a little different where they look at double blocking and stuff like that. Hell, if that happens at NASCAR, everybody's just like, ooh, that was close, and they just leave it at that.
Yeah, and that, I mean, it all comes down to that pit road there at Indianapolis. We saw the unfortunate incident there a couple of weeks back, and VK gets in trouble over there as well. I love who were they talking about when was it Rossi that said that VK's writing some checks that his rear end can't cover?
I think so.
Is that who that was?
It came over the radio, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's good stuff. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. In IndyCar racing is getting some personality, and that race yesterday, being not prime time, but being on the Peacock network there, obviously as it should be. It was big. Is it just me? I mean, I love NBC. I mean, NBC is great. They do so much, with the racing, but I don't know. Maybe it's just the old guy in me, but did it seem like ABC maybe it was in their heart a little more? ABC seemed a little more passionate about the 500 than what NBC does.
I don't know if I noticed it. Last year, I think they did an outstanding job. Mm-hmm. The pre-race and everything was an outstanding job with the way everything was done, with NBC taking over the airing of the Indianapolis 500. I think I noticed it more. It seemed like it was more in the pre-race than the actual race itself. Once the race got started, it just seemed like it was any other race. Unlike the kind of what you see with like the Daytona 500. I don't know if it's just because it was the broadcast team or if it's just because of the time of year. But therefore there were points of that race where it just felt like just another race. It didn't feel like a really special Indianapolis 500. And I don't know if there's a way that you can change that. I think a lot of it has to do. I think the excitement of the day when they run Monaco, Indy, and the 600 all together. I think it makes a change to the overall atmosphere of the broadcast, and I think that's probably what that race was lacking a little bit yesterday, is that you just didn't have the excitement. You knew that on the other channel, NBCSN, you knew the Cup race from Dover was on, and it's not like you have to sit there and you fire up the barbecue for Memorial Day weekend and just let it cook all day and drink beer all day. You start with mimosas and then you drink beer all day, so that's good.
Well, I drink beer all day that day myself, but. Anyway, and it was funny because on the Jamie Little interview, it was funny because I asked her, I said, so how is it, doing Indy this week? And she said, well, it's so weird because, I'm used to being in Charlotte on Memorial Day. And I'm like, well, it's not really, I mean, and I didn't say it. It's like, it's not Memorial Day. we're in August, but nice addition there, having her doing the social media stuff there for that. But really, really good race. We'll talk more in depth about that on the Saturday show. Although that was pretty in-depth right there. But we'll repeat all that on the Saturday show coming up on the horn. So Five Flags, they get their they race. And I was looking for that on the old 51, but it wasn't on there. I don't know what may have happened with that. I guess this was a rain-out thing, so maybe that's what it was. But our man Grant Thompson wins in the trucks. So, man, that really is going to be – I want to talk about a tough decision for them, man. Night of Champions or this this big 10K to win. Dang it. I wish those dates weren't conflicting.
Yeah, I know. It's one of those things that they can move it. If they could have done it Labor Day weekend. But I think there's another big truck race on Labor Day weekend, too, I think.
Yeah. Well, and that's, I can tell you with Gina's group, that's it's the people paying for it that wanted that date. So that is what it is. Augie Grill jumps in the old Outlaw, and I guess that Outlaw is, I mean, well, it's got good guys driving it, but Augie jumps in and he parks that bad boy in victory lane.
Yeah, you didn't hear talk about anybody trying to take that thing to special tech area, so it seems like they realize just how badass that 96 car really is. It doesn't matter who's driving it, that thing's just fast.
It really is. And that Outlaw division, man, that's one that I really hope, I mean, because Five Flags as well. I mean, I'm sure they don't have the numbers that they're looking for, but man, if they could, you would hope, sustaining between Five Flags and HMP, maybe that'd be something that would work out. If you missed it, $3,000 to win for the Outlaws on September the 26th, and I think that 26th stuff that we were talking about, Bobby, that's going to work well for Houston for Texas Short Track Racing Series, because at that point Five Flags is done. So I like that layout. Yeah,
that could be a big time modified race if those guys come up. If you get some of the old modified and mayhem guys running out there, and I mean $7,000 to win, that's a pretty good sized purse for those guys too. That's a nice way to get some green flowing back up into the racetrack.
Yeah, if you missed it on the 26th, $7,000 to win for the modifieds, $3,000 for the Outlaws, $2,000 for the trucks. There's a $500 long haul award, $200 to the fast qualifier coming up as well. So pretty good stuff. Pretty good stuff. And speaking of pretty good stuff, before we came on the show here, I have to look here just to make sure that I'm saying the right thing. But I saw a championship night coming up at Heart of Texas on Friday night, right down the road from me. Well, not right down the road, but over in Waco. $1,000 to win for the modifieds, redraw. $700 to win in all the other classes. That's a pretty damn good little payday right there.
Yeah, especially when the normal purse is $400 to win, so that's not quite double, but it's getting there. But that's some good money. That's some good money purse there for Heart of Texas. Heart of Texas is still geared up for the Fall Classic. I got to double check the date for the Fall Classic, see if we can ever make it up there. If you hadn't been to a race at Heart of Texas, that's the one to go to.
Yeah, I've been there many years ago. I made my way out there, but haven't been in a while. So modifieds, $1,000 to win. iStock $700, Sport Mod $700, Outlaw Street Stock $700, Factory Stock $700. So that's big time money right there, and that's how you do it. And people are stepping up, and it's a tough time to be making this stuff happen. But wherever the money's flowing in from, it's definitely happening.
Well, Waco's always been good about getting the local sponsors to put up big money for the local classes. That continues to be the trend there at Heart of Texas. But it's just one of those where you wouldn't think that just an increase of $300 or $400 would make that big of a difference, but it really seems to make a difference there. You'll see more cars come out for that season-ending race than you will only other time it'll be a little bit bigger is either opening night or at the Fall Classic. So the fact that those cars, you wouldn't think that. If it normally pays, I think it normally pays $400, $425, something like that. To pay $700 to win in those classes, that's a big motivator to get some of those guys to bring those cars out of the garages.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And man, those factories, man. And the thing about the race at Cotton Bowl, there were 31 factories there, and they had the factory stock 50 out in I forget where it was, but they had the factory stock 50 going on as well. But I mean, there's a lot of those things laying around. They come out and they put on a hell of a show, man. They get after it. I mean, it like Jared was talking about. It's elbows up, and those guys on those damn asphalt pull-offs, and those guys are just racing.
It's pretty funny when you think about it's like they all want to go to the same track at the same time without talking to each other. It's like they just all decide, like this when you had Monty Chamberlain come up from down there in Edna area, and then you had some of the people come up from Corpus and stuff like that ran in Waco and then ran at Heart of Texas. But it's cool to see. I mean, that's the challenge of the factory stocks. Those cars are just so fast that almost anybody can win at any given race. So that's a lot to take in, especially if you're trying. I'm not sure I totally follow the concept that I-37 is using with the B-Ma or the B factory stocks or whatever they're called down there, where they split them up. But not sure I totally follow that. But I think they're going to have to end up being a way where there's going to have to be, two different types of factory stocks out there. That's why there's always been a need for a pure stock class. Yeah. Pure stock class would be just basically the factory stocks with a little less oomph in them and a little less adjustability.
Mm-hmm. And good to see our man. Speaking of I-37, Alan Alexander showed up out there. Old Double A, man. He got out there and man, he drove his tail off. I mean, just a really good run for him, and looks like a fun class. I mean, it really does look like a fun class. And you mentioned Monty. It's good to see Monty out there. I mean, always. I mean, that great looking car number 55, and he popped a motor. And I think I read on his Facebook page that they blew a motor. It had been in his whole career. It's like only the third motor that he's blown. I'm like, man, I remember blowing 3 motors in 3 weeks. But that Monty Chamberlain, all of the folks there from Texana, man, it's really good to see. And that's one thing that I really appreciate about dirt track racing is these guys get out there and they support each other's tracks. They show up, and it's a long haul. I mean, I did it very late, on July 4th. It's a long way from Edna or the Edna spot to get to Cotton Bowl, and these tracks, they support each other. This is a good bunch of drivers that are really making dirt track racing even stronger here in Texas.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys that are doing a lot of crossover stuff. You see a lot of it between I-37 and South Texas, and now you're starting to see a little bit of it between Cotton Bowl and Edna down there through Texana. So it's getting that time of the year though where more people are wanting to travel. Mm-hmm. The points are not, if you're not up in the points, a lot of people are just wanting to start traveling and kind of seeing what's going to happen at a couple of different tracks whether they just want to run somewhere else towards the end of the year. So you're starting to see that a little bit more. And I think you'll continue to see that here in the last couple of weeks here as we get ready to rack up the racing season here coming till I guess end of September really.
Yeah, it's really getting down to it, and of course you'll have over at South Texas you have that big race, and the bad thing is I was talking to Stevie a couple of weeks ago, and man, it coincides with Snowball. I mean that's the only unfortunate thing as a race fan or whatever it may be for us that make the trip down to Pensacola, but that finale at South Texas, I mean that's where you get. I mean you're down to that, and that's where kind of we were talking about the Miller Nationals at McAllen, with Jared Maupin a couple of weeks ago, and that's kind of what you have now. You've got that big race at the end of the year, and that's where everybody congregates down there. I really foresee that being a big ass race this year.
I think it's going to be. I think with the success that South Texas has had all year long, despite the whole COVID issues, I think that race stands a chance to being really good and really big, and that's what you want to see. Like the one thing that I'm interested in with some of these big season-ending races, including Snowball, is if they're going to have any kind of attendance restrictions. Yeah. I think that the races that come December will actually have a lot better idea of what they're going to be able to do. Because we'll know more about Thanksgiving time and Black Friday shopping, what everything's going to have to do. But I got a feeling a lot of people are still going to stay inside for that. It depends on the deals that I see will determine whether or not I get out for Black Friday or not.
Yeah, that's a great point, because when you have these end of the year races, and that's where you get folks that travel around. I mean, you mentioned Snowball, and I mean there's people from all over the country that make their way there to Five Flags for that. And yeah, if there are restrictions, I mean, because I can tell you one damn thing. I mean, anybody that's been there, man, you are literally on top of each other because that place is packed. I know last year we were in the grandstands and we're thinking, okay, there's probably going to be a little bit of room right here because the last couple of days there's been room, and you get to, Saturday night. You're squeezing each other. You take a drink of beer and you've got to keep those elbows in because it is just that packed.
Yeah, no, it's going to be, and I wouldn't anticipate this year's Snowball. I think it'll be down a little bit, but I still think it's going to be packed. I got to get the call in down there to Pat and the gang down there to try to get our tickets wrapped up again for this year. So hopefully we can get everything lined up and be ready to go there for that race. But I don't know, man. It's still a lot to be determined. I think that the racetrack operators know about as much as we do in terms of what they're going to be able to have for these big money races. I think they're just going to sell the tickets until they're told not to sell no more. I mean, that's what I would do.
That's really the thing. I mean, just kind of keep doing what they're doing, and I think for the rest of us, it's just a matter of, follow those guidelines and just. I told the folks at Cotton Bowl on Saturday night, if you walk up, if you get out of the grandstands, you're walking around. If there's somebody with a mask on, odds are that's something that they're very concerned about, or if they're walking around they have that on. I mean, maybe throw yours on too, or stay away from them. I mean, whatever the case may be. And I really think at this point, I think we're all trying to figure out how to live with this. I was telling my wife the other day, this whole mask thing, I mean, I'm getting used to it because you're having to wear the damn thing everywhere. But, I mean, when it comes to flu season, when you've got flu stuff going on, hell, I might wear my mask even if we don't have to. I mean, it's you learn to adjust, and it's something that's becoming a way of life. Who would have ever thought that we'd all be walking around here looking like a bunch of bandits? You know, if I drove by a bank the other day. There was a guy sitting out front, and he had a mask on. He had a bandana mask on, and I'm thinking, you know, last year I probably would have called the cops, but not now.
I'm just seeing how Halloween's going to shake out, because I saw a deal with a haunted house down in San Antonio. They're going to say everybody must maintain 6 feet social distance between themselves and the actors. I'm thinking to myself, that kind of takes the fun out of the haunted house. It said that they have to all wear masks. It's like, what, is everybody going to dress up as like doctors for Halloween? I mean, that's the only thing that really goes with a mask.
Well, I saw that somewhere, maybe it was here in Austin. No, it's not here in Austin, but somewhere they have a drive-through haunted house where you can actually go through, and the actors come out and they like put blood on your windows and do all of this other whatever it may be. I mean, you know, I'm not a big haunted house guy, but I mean, to me, I'm like, man, what is that? I think I'd just rather not go.
Yeah, I think that's one of those where you just don't go out for that. It's still going to be interesting to see what they do for Halloween. Hopefully we have a better handle on this whole COVID stuff. Because Halloween, for this year, Halloween's on a Saturday night. And so it kind of ruins the fact that Halloween's actually on a Saturday night to have all the COVID restrictions, where you're not going to have a bunch of trick-or-treaters or a bunch of big parties. So that's going to be hard for them college kids to not want to go out and party on Halloween. That's going to be for sure.
Yeah, for the kiddos, you know, I was actually thinking about that the other day. I was telling someone, you know, for the kiddos, for trick or treat, I mean, you could like put the bowl out, but you got these little shits that come up and, you know, take everything, and you get like one guest. You know, they take everything that you put out there. So that's that is going to be interesting. Football is going to be interesting as well. So hopefully it gets to the point where I know we're going to have NFL, but you know, the rest of it we'll just have to see. I mean, we're 10 days out from you know, college football. I mean, some semblance of college football. So we'll see if that all pans out. But lastly, Bob, before we check out, and got to talk about the race yesterday, or you know, Dover. Let's talk about the 2 Dover races. Jimmy Johnson, a couple of good top 10 runs there. Gonna assert that last effort to try to get in the playoffs, but another week, and it's still the 11 and the 4, just miles above everybody.
Oh yeah, leaps and bounds. Those are the top 2 guys. Definitely the road to the championship goes through the 11 shop and goes through the 4 shop. But I don't know, if you think about Jimmy Johnson. If Jimmy Johnson didn't have that one race where he got the COVID, and then also he got DQ'd at another race and lost 1 point. Yeah. So between 2 races, he got 1 point. So if he just gets the top 20 finish, he's going to be already in the playoffs, you know, in one of the races. So that's it. It's good to see the drive and desire. I thought that he seemed upbeat on Saturday or on Sunday when they did the two tire call. So he got to drive the wheels off that thing, and so hopefully it'll be a good race between him and his teammate William Byron. And then Matty D has just had horrible luck the last couple of weeks. Hopefully he's not having the bad luck that'll open up that seat to Austin Cindric. But we'll see how that all shakes out. I've listened to a radio interview today with Edsel Ford, and they were talking about, you know, he doesn't know where those guys are going to go because he doesn't know. And so I think it's going to be interesting. I think there's a better chance of Briscoe going to the 32 than Austin Cindric leaving Team Penske. So we'll see how that all shakes out.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And of course they go to Daytona, and that's a wild card there. So who knows what'll happen? But I do think it's cool with Jimmy Johnson. Man, there's a little part of me, and I was watching a Dale Jr. download that they had with him. He's been on there a couple of times. This is the more recent one, and he's talking about IndyCar and all this other stuff. You know, there's a small part of me, Bobby, that thinks he's kind of checked out here. His goal is to win. I mean, he pretty much has said that he would rather win a race than make the playoffs, and you have to think that. Let's say he misses the playoffs. I'd like to see him get in the playoffs. I think if he could get in and win, you know, in the playoffs, that would be really cool. But there's a small part of me that he's like, I'm thinking about IndyCar. He wants a 2-year contract. I mean, I think he's just ready to be done. I think he's ready to be done, but he wants to win a race, you know, for his followers.
It'll be interesting to see him because I think it was because Ganassi still runs the Honda, so it'll be
Yeah.
interesting to see Jimmy Johnson in something other than a Chevrolet. But we'll see how that shakes out. Last I read or heard that he wants to run just the road courses, but
Yeah.
we'll have to see. I think if you're going to have Jimmy Johnson, you're going to have him for the full season.
And they asked him on that program about would there be any obligations to whatever, pretty much asking about the Chevrolet thing, and he pretty much said that he would do whatever was best for him. So I don't know. I know he's leery on the on the ovals and all of that, but you have to think, because he did mention in another thing that I saw that damn aero screen is something that he really likes what he's seeing there, and I don't know, man. It's gonna be weird to see him in a different series like that. That will be extremely odd.
It'll be extremely odd, but it'll be extremely cool, especially if you can find a way to go over there and win.
Yeah, it really will. But so we're down to Daytona, and again, this is a wild card, and this is where somebody can really mess up this whole party. You know, we're talking about Jimmy and William Byron and all of this, but if somebody that's sitting there, can break in, I mean, Tyler Reddick gets in there and gets a win. I mean, I love this setup. I mean, I know people are frowning on NASCAR, and we're probably losing listeners, but I really like the way that they have drawn this up to where we're finishing the regular season there at Daytona in a race that we have no idea what the hell's going to happen. It's under the lights, and I think with everything we've seen in 2020, it's setting up for a pretty damn classic end to the regular season.
I think so too. I think that that's probably the best thing possible to see everybody. It's becoming one of those that you just don't know. You just don't know who's going to win. I think that we were leery about having the swap out between having Indy from the regular season finale into the summer. And while it became kind of a non-issue because of the fact that everything was going with COVID-19, the excitement over this race at Daytona, I can only imagine if you're one of those guys that's not locked in.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how they're going to sleep at night because there's so much stuff that's out of your control. And it'd be interesting to see how those teams react to it. I think when you got somebody, this is where the inexperience of a Matty D, the inexperience of a William Byron, and the experience of Jimmy Johnson, but yet he's still got a somewhat of a rookie crew chief there that hadn't finished his full season.
Yeah.
I'm interested. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to watch it with both eyes open and be wide open on Saturday night.
I think it's going to be really good. I think it's going to be really good. And just the fact that they're under the lights, I mean, a nighttime Daytona race to set your playoff field, I think is something that's going to be that's going to be really, really good. Again, if you missed the program earlier, we were talking about Heart of Texas, $1,000 to win for the IMCA Modifieds. They're going to draw and redraw $700 to win for everybody else. So all of those other classes are going to be making, final night. I mean, final regular season night, and that's a hell of a nice little setup there for a Friday night dirt track race out at the historic Heart of Texas Speedway. And it's still funny driving by there, because I was driving back from Denton a couple of weeks ago, and I drove by there, and to see that bad boy sitting there, man, you drive by that, and that track, you think of all the tracks that have closed and everything that's happened around here. That bad boy just keeps on going, man. Just keeps on going on a Friday. On Fridays, man, they got their shit together.
And it has been forever.
Yeah. I mean, it's unbelievable what they do there, and I mean that's kind of one of those destination tracks. I mean, when you talk to guys that race around the country, it's like, Heart of Texas always pops up, and that's super good for them.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the old school racetracks, and they're doing something right. They've been around for a long time. You don't just continue to race just because you continue to race. The tracks that are staying in business are the ones that have been doing it right.
Mm-hmm. And we also announced the Gary Merrill Memorial Race 2020. That is coming up, and that will be presented by Advanced Auto Parts. That is also presented by RNM Install, BMF Shocks and Chassis. Walker Sport Fishing Saturday night, September the 26th for the modified, $7,000 to win, $3,000 for the Outlaws, $2,000 to win for the trucks, long haul award, as well as $200 to each fast qualifier, 75 laps for those modifieds. First 50 cautions will count. After that point, they do not. Single car qualifying will happen for the modifieds. Everybody else will do it typically as they do over there with practice times, and most importantly, tech rules. I did get a text about what are the rules. Well, the rules are what it says at NASCARHouston.com.
Yeah, right. That's definitely the way that it should be.
You got to love that when you get all that. What's the rules? Well, the rules are what's published, and you get one of those cool trophies as well. So all of that's coming up on the 26th. You got the 12th. Look for Texas Short Track Racing Series to announce, distance and all that for the trucks. Great interview tonight with Jared Fryer. You love those Fryers, and isn't it funny? You think we talked to Freddie, we've talked to Mark, all of them. They all speak the same. They talk about their team. They talk about just how much they love being out there with their family and all their supporters and all of that. Just such a great racing family, and it's good to see that continues to be carried on by Jared.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually, I think it's the second time he's been on. We've had him on twice, but this time a little better circumstances this time. But it's great to see. All I know is we didn't get to see him when we did the interview, but I think his eyebrows were perking up a little bit when everybody started talking about wanting some of them flyers or some of the the Fryer
the stickers.
Stickers, there we go. I was thinking staple. I don't know why I was thinking it's Fryer staples.
Yeah.
Definitely. If you did it right, you get one big one and two little ones for $14.
Absolutely.
That's got to be the way to go.
Absolutely. Very, very good thing right there. Super cool to see those. And thanks to Jared for jumping on, and congratulations on that big win. He will try to do it once again as they are back on the track this week with the Cars Tour. Cars Tour TV. You can check out all of that great action coming up this weekend. Busy weekend coming up. Oops, wrong sounder right there. That's what happens when you can't see across the mic boom. Busy weekend coming up. Gonna be fun. I am seriously looking forward to that Daytona thing. I know many don't care. I want to see it.
Yeah, that Daytona race is gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it really will. Thank you to Jared Fryer. Bobby, good stuff, man. Always good to do this on a Monday night.
Yeah, it's becoming a Monday night tradition. Has for about the last 3 years.
Yeah, how about that? Overnight sensations as we are. Somebody asked again the other day about the show on Saturdays. I'm like, you have no idea how long it took for that to happen. So, Good stuff. Good stuff.
Next month's the birthday month.
That's right.
Birthday month coming up on the 20th.
That's right. We'll have to have a party. We'll have to have a celebration. Get your ass out to a local short track. Support those folks. Bobby, we'll talk soon, my man. Thank you once again. Excellent show.
No, as always, not a problem, not a problem.
Absolutely. Be nice to someone. You never know what they're going through. You're going to feel better as well afterwards. #Real Race Talk from the Lone Star State. Have a great week, everybody.